All right, we are live. And we've got some exciting weather to talk about today. Before we get started, I will remind you that if you're watching this video after the live stream, you'll be able to click down in the time bar below to go to the weather story or the region that you're most interested in. So, what are the interesting weather stories? Well, we'll start off on the eastern half of the country. The Northeast was picking up some light snow early this morning as we saw the lingering effects of Winter Storm Nathaniel here. Now, as we move throughout the day today into this afternoon, you're going to see this system in the central part of the country start to strengthen as it moves into the Midwest and the Mid-Atlantic. So we're going to be picking up some decent snow in the southern parts of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. And then that's going to move through the Mid-Atlantic, bringing some snow to Kentucky, West Virginia, parts of Tennessee, and North Carolina as well. So that's the major system impacting the eastern half of the U.S. over the next couple of days. And the big story is the major winter storm going on in California. So eastern half of the country, not all that much exciting weather. We do have that system, but I'll remind you, that's the system that moved through California this last Sunday and Monday, and it brought some rain, some snow, but it wasn't all that exciting. So don't expect too much if you're living on the eastern half of the country and really excited about this snowstorm. We will take a look at the totals, though, because there is going to be maybe 2 to 4 inches in some places. Now, the top weather story, though, is this major winter storm that's started hitting California yesterday afternoon, and it's going to be hanging around throughout all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, still here on Friday, and then finally moving off Friday night into Saturday morning. So if you're living in California, you probably felt the effects of this starting yesterday evening and throughout last night. Rain was coming down hard. We've already had some areas pick up 5 to 6 inches of rain. We've already picked up a couple of feet of snow in the Sierras. There are flash flood risks, there are mudslide risks, debris flow risks, especially where we have that heavy rain mixing with some of the burn scars from our fires this last season. And then we actually also have a blizzard warning now in the Sierras. Now, the main reason for that, there is still a lot of snow to come, picking up maybe 5 or 6 more feet of snow on top of what we've already gotten. And then that is being mixed with some extreme winds, maybe 40 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. That's going to allow all that snow falling to really get kicked up in the air, really minimize visibility, and why we have that blizzard warning in place. The key aspects of this major winter storm we're going to be watching in California will be right along the central coast. But again, that's our top story for the day, and I like to save best for last. So we're going to really dive into this major winter storm towards the end of this live stream. And officially, this is now being called Winter Storm Orlena by the Weather Channel. So overall, this is the precipitation that we're going to be picking up throughout today and tomorrow. I always like to take a good look here to see what we can be expecting. You can see heaviest precipitation along the California coast with that top story we're going to be looking at today, but the southeast picking up maybe an inch or 2 of rain as well throughout the day today. And then that right there, and in the northeast, that's going to be more of the snow that we're picking up. So let's just take a look at the accumulated snowfall, what we should be expecting over the next 24 hours. You can see maybe 3 to 4 feet of snow in California, parts of the upper northwest. We will take a look at those today. Maybe getting 6 inches to a foot of snow throughout the Cascades and parts of Idaho. And then, like I said, New York picking up the very lingering effects of Winter Storm Nathaniel throughout early morning. Then they're going to be mostly dry as they miss out on this second system that, like I said, it's moving through Missouri, southern parts of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, and North Carolina, picking up the majority of that system, maybe 2 to 5 inches of snow in the highest accumulation places. But again, big story is what's going on in California. You can see throughout the next few days, we could be picking up another 5 to 6 feet of snow, maybe even more than that. It seems like every time I check the forecast models, they just get even better for California. The original ones were showing maybe an inch or two of rain and 3 to 4 feet of snow. If you want proof of that, you could go back to my forecast videos last week, where I was almost hesitant to say we were going to get 4 feet of snow because I didn't want to overhype the storm. Well, we've possibly already picked up 4 feet of snow, and there might be another 4 feet on the way. So some sources, some forecast models are showing that in total, 8 to 10 feet of snow could be possible with this system. That's why the impacts are going to be extreme. We've got that blizzard warning. Definitely, I'm happy about it on the one hand because we're getting inches of rain, feet of snow, terrific for the extreme drought that we have in California. But there's always two sides of the coin. On one hand, it's great for the drought. On the other hand, we have the risk of debris flows where that heavy rain is mixed with our burn scars. And then in the Sierras, we have dangerous travel conditions, blizzard warning, and things of that nature that we do have to keep our eye on. So there's good and bad news with almost anything in life. So looking at the overarching patterns that's driving the exciting weather throughout the next couple of days, there's the lingering effects of Winter Storm Nathaniel right over the Northeast. That's pretty much gone by this afternoon. That one's long gone. The next thing to keep our eye on for the eastern half of this country is this second little system. And I say little system because, again, this was felt by California Sunday and Monday. We got some light rain and snow, but it wasn't all that major of a system. And you can just tell by the look of it. Looks pretty moderate. And the accumulations with this one will be moderate, maybe 2 to 4 inches, as you see it moves across the lower Midwest and through the Mid-Atlantic through the day today, and finally pushing off the coast by early Thursday morning. That one's already gone. Then we have this major ridge that's going to build in over the entire center of the country, while that trough and this low pressure system, this atmospheric river, are still over California. So keep an eye on that. You can see came in Tuesday evening last night, heavy rain, extreme winds. Let me know how it was in the area where you live. In the Santa Cruz Mountains, it was raining hard, and the redwood trees outside my window were definitely blowing. It was maybe 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts up here. So take a look at that trough. It's just going to continue to strengthen. The atmospheric river is really going to start funneling into the central coast over the next couple of days, maybe another 4 inches of rain possible there. We've already picked up 6 in some places with this storm. And then that's finally going to move off as we get into Friday night and Saturday morning, as that system goes to impact the rest of the country. It looks like it could have something in the cards for the Midwest as we get into this next weekend, but that's a ways off in the forecast, so we're not going to worry about it just yet. So I always like looking at the temperature anomalies. That's basically saying how much above average or below average are the temperatures. You can see Southeast was extremely above average, but as we work into our day Wednesday, that's going to become more mild. It was 30 degrees above average. It's going to drop down to maybe 10 degrees above average. Where we do have extreme temperature anomalies are in the central plains here, where we're 20 degrees below average, and then this cold blob of air is going to move down into the Midwest, kind of combining with that cold air that was over the plains. You can see we're getting 20 to 30 degrees below average in the Midwest throughout early Thursday morning. That's probably when you're really going to be feeling the effects of that. So we'll take a look at the temperatures in the Midwest as well. And then for the most part, below average on the eastern half, above average sort of for the western half. It's a little more mild overall in the western half of the country. So the first region that I want to dive into is the Midwest. And like I said, Winter Storm Nathaniel moving off the coast. That one is officially gone. It's this second little system here trailing behind Nathaniel that we have to keep our eye on. And you can see as it starts to funnel in a little bit of moisture down from the Gulf of Mexico, we're going to see this system start to strengthen as it drops some snow across the southern parts of the Midwest. So right there, let's see, what time is this? This is early Wednesday morning, starting to already feel the effects of this. And then as we move into this afternoon, that's where southern parts of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio getting some light snow with this system. And you can see it's a quick mover. By this time tomorrow, it's already off the coast. So that's why it's not going to be all that extreme of a storm. We're not going to be getting a foot of snow anywhere. Just a couple inches. It's something to keep our eye on, but definitely nothing major. And like I said, it was over California. Was pretty weak over California. We got some rain and snow, not all that much. I'm expecting a similar story as it moves through the Midwest, maybe 2 to 4 inches in some places, and it's moving through fast. It's not like this giant system we have over California that's going to be sitting over us for 3 to 4 days. That one's really moving through over the course of maybe 24 hours. So let's take a look at it here. As we get into early this morning, we are starting to feel the effects in Iowa and Missouri. Just some light snow. Like I said, it's not a major snowstorm. Getting maybe 0.05 to 0.1 inches per hour of snow. And then it's going to move into Illinois and Indiana as we get into this afternoon. And it is going to strengthen a little bit as it starts to pick up some more moisture and starts to feel the effects of this cold air here. But it's not going to get, like I said, not going to get extreme. By this evening, it'll move, like I said, it's moving fast. So by this evening, it's already into Ohio, dropping some light snow there. And then before you know it, it's already gone. By Thursday morning, that system has already moved off the East Coast. So let's just take a look at what kind of totals we can be expecting with this one. You can see, when does Illinois first start to feel the effects? That's this afternoon. You might have already picked up an inch of snow with that one. As we work into this evening, majority of southern Illinois will maybe have 1 to 2 inches of snow, as southern Indiana gets maybe an inch and a half. As we work into tonight and early tomorrow morning, you can see for the most part, Ohio missing out maybe one little strip that feels it, but we're mostly going to be looking at the mid-Atlantic because that's where the bulk of this storm is hitting. But there is one select spot of Missouri that does pick up over 2 inches of snow as this one moves throughout the next 24 hours. But again, we will be taking a look at the mid-Atlantic because that's where some higher accumulations will be possible. Just taking a more local look, let's just click all the way through to see what totals we can be expecting. Like I said, maybe over 2 inches here. St. Louis, maybe getting up to 2 inches. Louisville, possibly around that 2-inch range. And it's mostly on the southern parts of the state. So it's something. It's not a major winter storm, but it's maybe 1 to 2 inches. It's certainly something to look at. Possibly the bigger story for the Midwest right now are the extreme below average temperatures that we're going to be feeling maybe Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. So this is around 7 a.m. on Thursday morning. You can see parts of Iowa, Wisconsin, northern Illinois, 20 to 30 degrees below average. This might even be a bigger story for the Midwest than that light snow that we're going to pick up. 20 to 30 degrees below average. But then as we get into the afternoon, it's still 15 to 20 degrees below average, but it should be calming down a little bit, getting more mild temperatures throughout the majority of the region. And then you can see that cold air will start to push east, and that's where northern Illinois, parts of Michigan start to feel those 15 to 20 degree below average temperatures as we work into Friday morning. So it's this blob of cold air that's going to start to work its way in this evening and should be affecting the Midwest throughout the next couple of days. If we actually check out the temperatures, I believe the biggest effects were tomorrow morning. That's This is now looking at the temperatures. We're looking at 7 to 10 degrees below zero in Iowa, Wisconsin, northern Illinois. And then, like I said, as we move into Friday morning, that cold air is going to move east across the region, maybe getting 5 degrees below zero in parts of Wisconsin and hovering around zero in parts of Michigan. So that might even be the bigger story in the Midwest than that snow moving through. We've got extremely cold air, and we've got some snow moving into southern parts of Illinois and Indiana mostly. Ohio, on second glance, looks like they're going to be missing out on that snowstorm. So the next place I want to look at is the mid-Atlantic, because that's actually where we're going to be feeling the greatest effects of this system that's going to be building in as Winter Storm Nathaniel officially moves off the coast. You can see right over Missouri and the Central Plains dropping some light snow early this morning, and then it's going to start to draw in some moisture and start to strengthen as it moves into the mid-Atlantic. Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia, maybe select parts of Tennessee, and North Carolina picking up the bulk of the snow with this one. We got some nice winter weather, but again, it's a fast-moving system. You can see right here, that's this afternoon. This is around 1 p.m. today. It's over Missouri and Illinois. And then by 1 p.m. tomorrow, it's already off the coast. So it's going to be a fast-moving system. That's why I'm not expecting extreme accumulations or a major winter storm, but we will be picking up some snow as it does move through. I always like to take a look at the 500 millibar level to get a good idea of the system. You can see it right there. It's not the biggest trough you've ever seen. If you want to see a massive trough, you could take a look at the west coast right there. That is a massive trough. This one that's going to be moving through the Midwest and Mid-Atlantic, bringing this little snowstorm, that's what it is. It's a little snowstorm bringing maybe 2 to 5 inches to parts of the Mid-Atlantic. So you can see it as it moves through here, trailing a bit farther south than Winter Storm Nathaniel did. It actually looks like some of the earlier forecast runs for Winter Storm Nathaniel, and you can see also that separation of colder and warmer temperatures. That's kind of the separation of where we're going to be seeing snow and rain. So that's actually a pretty interesting thing to look at, but big part of that story is it's not that big, and it's also trailing farther south, which is why the Mid-Atlantic will be the region picking up some snow with this one. So let's actually take a look as this system moves through. This is getting into early this morning. You might have been feeling some rain throughout this region. And then there's this low pressure system as it starts to push in. We start to see the earliest effects in parts of Kentucky, southern Indiana, southern Ohio, and rain throughout the warmer areas of Tennessee, South Carolina, and North Carolina. So as we move into this evening, into early Thursday morning, that's where we start to feel the snow in West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina. North Carolina is going to be a split. If you're in the northern parts of the state, you're going to be getting some pretty decent snowfall rates. That's maybe 0.1 to 0.2 inches per hour. A wintry mix, right where it's in that split difference between the below freezing temperatures and above freezing temperatures. We'll take a look at that split in a second. And then as we move into early tomorrow morning, you can see the system already moving off the coast. The very eastern parts of North Carolina still picking up some light snow tomorrow morning. So the majority of the action is going to be happening this evening into tomorrow morning. Like I said, it's a quick moving system, which is why the accumulations won't be that great. And we also don't have any points in the storm where we're getting extreme snowfall rates. 0.1 to 0.2 inches is decent. You can see there is some heavier snow falling in tonight, but certainly not the inch per hour that we possibly will be getting on the west coast with Winter Storm Orlena. So let's take a look at the total accumulated snowfall for the Mid-Atlantic. As this starts to build in, you see the first effects coming in this evening. And then as we work into technically tomorrow morning around 1 a.m., that's where we're getting some decent snow accumulations in Kentucky, parts of West Virginia, Virginia, maybe some select locations in Tennessee, 2 to 4 inches here by early this morning, or early tomorrow morning. And then as we get into 7 a.m. tomorrow, that's where North Carolina could have picked up 2 to 4 inches at this point, and parts of Virginia and maybe some select spots in Tennessee picking up 2 to 4 inches as well. So in total, that's what we're going to be seeing with this storm. Maybe 2 inches in Kentucky, very southern parts of West Virginia, 1 to 1.5 inches. Virginia, 2 to 4 inches. Eastern Tennessee, 1 to 2 inches. North Carolina, 2 to 4 inches. And you can see the heaviest accumulations right along the coast there. We'll take a look at the more localized map in a second. First, I want to just go over those temperatures we were talking about, because that's really going to determine if you get snow. It's if you're in that area where there's below freezing temperatures and above freezing temperatures. The below freezing is easy to spot on this map. It's where you have this blue color. So that is where you're going to be picking up the snow early on. Remember, the early parts of this storm were dropping snow to Illinois and southern parts of Ohio, this select area of Kentucky, and that's where you have the below freezing temperatures. That's where you're picking up the light snow. You can see those below freezing temperatures move farther south as we get into tonight. So that's what's going to allow that snow to continue to fill in to more southern parts of Kentucky, possibly even some spots in Tennessee, parts of West Virginia, Virginia, and North Carolina, as well as that cold air continues to push farther south. So this is the bulk of when North Carolina is going to be picking up, maybe 7 a.m. to even earlier tomorrow morning. And you can see where the boundary is of these below freezing temperatures. That's basically telling you where the boundary is of where that snow is going to fall. Right along the boundary is where you get the wintry mix. Below it, you get rain. Above it, you get snow. If you want proof of that, we can go back and look at this map. You can see where you have those cooler temperatures is where you're able to pick up the snow. Below is where it's going to be more of this wintry mix. That's right on the border between below freezing and above freezing. And then, like I said, by Thursday afternoon, it's already gone. So it is a quick moving system. Let's take a more local look at this system as it moves through. You can see overall maybe 2 to 4 inches between Johnson City and Roanoke. And then North Carolina, decent accumulations as well, 2 to 4 inches. Now, we would be picking up a lot more snow if this was a slow-moving system and was able to just sit over this area. But you can see, comes in tonight, already gone by tomorrow morning. Quick-moving system, 2 to 4 inches in total throughout the mid-Atlantic. So the next thing I want to do is just take a quick look at a number of regions. I want to look at the Northeast, the Southeast, and the Upper Northwest, all in a relatively short period of time, and then we're going to take a real in-depth look at the major winter storm over California to finish the live stream off. So the reason I'm going to be going over these areas quick is because there's not all that much going on. We'll start with the Northeast. You can see they were picking up some light snow early this morning with the trailing effects of Winter Storm Nathaniel, and then by this afternoon, really by about right now, that system's gone northwest or northeast, basically in the clear throughout the day today. And then that system that's bringing some snow to the Midwest and Mid-Atlantic just moving south of the Northeast. So that's why Northeast isn't a major area we're looking at today. You can see they're, for the most part, missing out on that system as it moves through. Now, another spot to take a look at here is the Southeast. You could see early this morning, we're picking up some pretty heavy rainfall through Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. That's maybe 0.2 to 0.5 inches per hour. We'll take a look at the accumulated precip in a second. maybe an inch of rain falling throughout that region. And you can see as this system strengthens, we'll continue to see some rain throughout that area, although not as much as we were getting early this morning. Then moving back again into the upper northwest, that's where we're picking up some snow with this system that's mostly hitting California. They're not getting as much snow up here because this trough is digging pretty deep here, but it is worth noting what those snow accumulations are. If we want to see all that put another way, you can see Winter Storm Nathaniel here moving off the coast, this second little system, just moving south of the northeast. That's why the northeast is missing out on that one, just moving south. You will be getting some cold air pushing down though, especially as you work into Thursday evening. Then, like I said, in the upper northwest, that major trough is mostly around California, so northwest getting some snow, but not the major effects of that system. So taking a good look at the northeast, this is the light snow they were picking up early this morning. Maybe another inch or two in New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Maine, but that system's gone by this afternoon. And then this next system that moves through, just missing out in the northeast. So that's why we're not going to spend too much time in the northeast today, not picking up too much snow with that next system that moves through. Now again, forecast models are subject to change. There is still always the possibility that this system pulls up a little farther north and we actually do get some snow into Pennsylvania and New York. So I'm not ruling it out. This is not that far in the forecast, so the models are pretty confident on this system as of right now, but who knows? Weather forecast models have been known to change, so there is still a chance we could pick up something in the northeast. If you want to stay updated, I'll be doing another forecast video tomorrow morning. So let's look at how much we got with those trailing effects of Winter Storm Nathaniel. Another inch or two in northern parts of New York, inch to inch and a half in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and some spots in Massachusetts, picking up more than 2 inches throughout early this morning. Then as we click through this afternoon, you can see some select locations get some light dusting of snow, just the very trailing effects. But overall, that next system that moves through, northeast is missing out on it. So that's what's going on. You can see no major winter storm for the northeast, at least in the next few days. But like I said, forecast models subject to change, so stay tuned there. Now as we get into the southeast, you can see heaviest rain fell this morning, 0.2 to 0.5 inches per hour, stretching from Louisiana all the way through Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. And then as we move into this afternoon, this is something to keep in mind because that's extreme rainfall right there. That's maybe 0.5 or more inches per hour of rain. That could lead to some flash flooding, although for the most part in the southeast, we're still below average precipitation. So seeing this heavy rain moving through is actually welcome. And there's less of a risk of that flash flooding occurring because the stream levels are still a bit low. So you see that's going to move off as that system moves north of the southeast through bringing the one that's bringing snow to the Midwest and Mid-Atlantic. We will get some trailing effects into Georgia and South Carolina, just some light rain, nothing too extreme. And then we're clear throughout the majority of the day. Thursday, Friday. Next big system coming through will be Saturday into Sunday. So stay tuned. You might have a decent little rainstorm moving in towards this weekend throughout the southeast. Let's take a look at some of that good rain we picked up this morning. I say good rain because, again, below average precipitation in this region. We get over an inch to maybe an inch and a half of rain through southern Mississippi, central Alabama, parts of southern Georgia, picking up an inch of rain as well with that system as it moves through. And then remember, we get the small effects of that system that's bringing snow to the mid-Atlantic. It falls as rain in the southeast because the temperatures are above freezing. So possibly again an inch of rain in parts of South Carolina. Nothing too major. Thought I'd just mention it really quickly. That's why we're not spending too much time on these three regions here. It's worth noting, but nothing too extreme in the forecast. Now you can see, we'll talk about the big story in a second. I just want to mention the upper northwest really quick because they are feeling the effects of this major winter storm as well. As you can see, Cascades, Washington, Oregon picking up some great snowfall as it moves into Idaho early this morning and then spreads off across the region. But again, not feeling the major effects of this winter storm. Some light snow, but it's falling for a long period of time. That trough is hanging out over California for a number of days. So even though this is mostly light snow in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, the overall accumulations are actually going to be pretty good because that light snow is falling for such a long period of time, especially over Idaho. As you can see, we're still picking up snow in the same exact area for really the next 3, 4, 5 days. So it's interesting to look at the accumulations there. Let's just click through all the way to Friday afternoon. By the time that trough has moved off, you can see central Washington maybe picking up 5 to 6 inches of snow. Majority of the state more in that 1 to 4 inch range. In Oregon, we have some select areas picking up 6 inches of snow right along the coast here. Maybe little voice crack. Right along the coast here, that's maybe 1 foot to 2 feet of snow in that select location. Now, Idaho, remember, it was light snow in this area, but it was falling for a number of days. So we're going to be able to pick up maybe 1 foot to 2 feet of snow in the higher elevation, colder places of Idaho as the accumulations just continue to fall over this region. So that's the upper northwest. You can see they are feeling the effects of this major trough, but not as much as you can see there in California. So it is finally time to go down to California and the southwest here and go over the top story of the day. It's the moment you've all been waiting for because this is a big story. This, I would say, is the biggest winter storm we've had this entire season. We've already picked up 4 to 5 inches of rain in some place, already picked up multiple feet of snow throughout the Sierras, and there's even more to come. We have more inches of rain on the way, more snow on the way as well, maybe picking up another 5 to 7 feet in some places. We have flash flood warnings, we have debris flow warnings, we have blizzard warnings. The debris flows are mostly in the areas where we have those burn scars due to the fires we had this last season. Blizzard warnings are in the Sierras where we have the mixture of multiple feet of snow and extreme winds mixing together to really reduce visibility. So let's just take a wide view of the region. You can see this system moved in Tuesday evening and it's sticking around for a number of days. That's all the way through Wednesday. Still over California, dropping heavy rain, heavy snow. As we get into Friday morning, you can see California still feeling the effects. It finally starts to move off into Nevada, Arizona, Utah as we push into Friday evening and early Saturday morning. So that's where the system finally moves off and we start to feel the effects in other states. California is kind of hogging the storm for a while. So let's take a look at the overall system. You can see that trough moved in Tuesday evening. And then watch as it just continues to strengthen and just sits over California for a number of days. And that's the big story. It is a relatively moderate atmospheric river. We'll take a look at a good graphic that shows what an atmospheric river is in a second. But overall, it was a moderate atmospheric river. But the reason we're getting such terrific accumulations is because it's sitting over California for a number of days. It's not like that system moving through the mid-Atlantic where it's there this morning and then gone tomorrow morning. This one came in Tuesday evening and it's not gone until Friday evening. So that's why our accumulations for rain are in 5 to 7 inches and for snow are in 5 to 7 feet of snow. It's because it's sitting over California for such a long period of time. So this was looking at last night. let me know how this storm was in the area where you live. I'm down in the Santa Cruz Mountains here, and it was coming down hard. I even left my window open so I could listen to the storm. Rain was coming down hard. You could hear the wind. The trees were blowing. Extreme winds will continue to be a factor. We'll look at the extreme winds in a second. So that was last night. You can see heavy snow falling in Northern California. Heaviest rain in the North Bay last night. As we worked into this morning, it's moving south. And take a look at the Central Coast here, because that's the area that is really, I think, going to have the most... you could debate whether the Central Coast or the Sierras will have the biggest impacts with this storm. Because the Central Coast, there's some places around Paso Robles, San Luis Obispo, Atascadero, San Luis Obispo, where I went to college at Cal Poly, but they're picking up maybe 7 to 10 inches of rain with this one. And it's because this atmospheric river that we're talking about is just going to be sitting over this region. Check it out. Starting early this morning, we were getting that heavy rain, 0.2 to an inch per hour of rain, and it's going to continue throughout basically all day today. Getting into this evening, that atmospheric river is still over the Central Coast, and it's still there as we work into tonight and even tomorrow morning. So that's why the Central Coast could be a contender for most major impacts of this storm. 7 to 10 inches as that atmospheric river sits over this region for 24 to 48 hours. You can see it finally moves into Southern California Thursday night into early Friday morning. Now, the other contender for biggest impacts of this storm are the Sierras, because you can see extreme snowfall in the Sierras really starting last night, working all the way, sticks through all day. Wednesday, Thursday evening, we're still picking up heavy snow in the Sierras. So you could also make the statement that Sierras will have the most major impacts with this storm. So they could be getting 7 to 10 feet of snow, and there is the blizzard warning in place as you mix that 7 to 10 feet of snow with the extreme winds. And actually, extreme winds are a factor for the Central Coast as well, so we'll take a look at that in a second. First, I want to just look at the overall precipitation over the region. You can see, ignore the Sierras right there because we'll look at the snow totals in a second. This is looking at rainfall. You can see North Bay, 2 to 3 inches. For the most part, the most extreme part of the storm has passed. We will have one area tonight where this storm will almost have a second wind. That, no pun intended, but the winds will actually be extreme at this time. But we're also going to have that second period of heavy rainfall throughout the North Bay and South Bay as well throughout tonight. We'll take a look at that in a second, but I really just wanted to show this map to point out the Central Coast here. You can see that yellowish to orangish color is where we have maybe 6 inches of rain. Along the coast, like San Luis Obispo, that's where we could be getting 7 to 10 inches of rain. So very major impacts when it comes to rain in the Central Coast. And that's also where you have to keep in mind where we had fires this last summer, because where you mixed the burn scars with 7 to 10 inches of rain, that's where the soil gets saturated and you can have mudslides and debris flows. I have a graphic for that in a second to really explain how that concept works. But let's take a look at the snowfall. As of right now, that's what we've picked up. You can see a foot of snow in parts of Northern California. Sierras haven't felt the full effect yet, but that's quickly going to change as that atmospheric river just stays over Central California for all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, and that's where we really start to pile up some snow in the Sierras. Extreme impacts when it comes to the snowfall. I was looking at one source that said travel will basically be impossible, which makes sense when there's a blizzard warning and 7 feet of snow on the roads. So you can see as we click through, finally moving off into Nevada, Utah, Arizona, they'll start to feel the effects of this storm. It's using up majority of its energy right over California. The Nevada, Utah, Arizona, there's some spots that could pick up a foot, but you can see majority of that energy and moisture getting completely dropped in the Sierras here. You can see 62 inches of snow, and that's just adding to what we already picked up last night. Now, the reason for this major storm is really the atmospheric river. So here's the graphic that basically shows exactly what an atmospheric river is. This is showing humidity in the atmosphere. So just think of that like water above your head. Where there's blue, that's where there's more water. Where it's brown, that's where you have dry pockets of air. And you can see this low pressure system. That's the system that's driving this whole system for California, is the reason for this major winter storm. But the other major reason is the effects of this atmospheric river. So see around this low, we have these counterclockwise winds. Now I'm not going to get too sciencey here, but basically that means on the lower half of this system, you have these winds pushing in moisture from the ocean. So with a lot of our fire danger, that's where you have winds pushing from inland. That would be taking warm, dry air from inland, pushing it over California. That's when we get our fire danger. This is the exact opposite phenomena. Now the winds are flowing from the ocean, so this moisture in the air right here is getting pushed in to California, and it's what you call an atmospheric river. So just think of this moisture right here as basically a river above our heads. And the reason our rainfall and our snowfall totals are going to be so great is this river above our heads is going to continue and actually strengthen in some places throughout all day today, continuing through Thursday and even into Friday. We're still feeling the effects. Now, keep your eye on the Central Coast here, because this really explains why the Central Coast and the Sierras right east and northeast of the Central Coast have the major effects of this storm. It's completely due to this atmospheric river. As you can see, that's where the winds and this moisture are getting funneled in all day Wednesday. You can see it's even kind of funneling itself, really tightening. You can think of the flow as getting even stronger right there. As those isobars get closer together, we start to get some extreme winds as well. Let's just zoom in here to get a good look at that. You can see these winds pushing that moisture in right over San Luis Obispo and Atascadero and the rest of the Central Coast. So let's see when this atmospheric river finally goes away. You can see Thursday at 1 p.m., it's still over the Central Coast. That's why we're still picking up inches of rain in the Central Coast, feet of snow in the Sierras right here throughout Wednesday night, through Thursday, even into Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening. We're still feeling it in the same area. It starts to move into Los Angeles as we get into later into Thursday night, and then Southern California as we get into late Thursday night into early Friday morning. So I apologize if I just spent too long on that graphic, but it's literally just a perfect representation of the overall mechanism that's driving the system and explains why the Central Coast and the Sierras are feeling the largest effects of this system. Now, the largest effects that Northern California felt were last night into early this morning. This was 10 p.m. last night. You can see North Bay getting some heavy rainfall, 0.2 to an inch of rain per hour, that heavy snowfall falling in parts of Northern California. Now, I haven't had time to really look at local news sources, but I'll be interested to see how the LNU complex and the glass fire burn scars dealt with this extreme rain right there. So if you live in this area and you happen to know, let me know in the comments, because that's right where the LNU lightning complex was. So when you mix that extreme rainfall with a burn scar, that's where you can get some mudslides, and there were some extreme winds as well. So that's where if you have trees that were damaged by those fires, the trees are in danger of falling down as you mix in those extreme winds as well. So let's get into early this morning into right now. You can see for the most part, Bay Area picking up some light rain, but for the most part, that heavy rain is behind us as the heavy snowfall rates move into the Sierras. Like I said though, there's almost going to be a second wind of this system as we work into this afternoon and this evening. You can see the rain start to pick up again. And then as we work into tonight, you can see parts of the North Bay, San Francisco, South Bay, and then throughout the valley, not as extreme rain as the initial part of this system, not as extreme winds as the initial part of the system, but still a pretty good storm, and it's going to last all day Thursday into Thursday night is when it finally starts to move out of the region for Northern California. Effects in Southern California are going to be felt a bit longer as this storm is moving from northwest down California. So let's just take a look at where we're still going to be feeling the heaviest rain throughout Northern California. Most likely going to be around 10 p.m. tonight and throughout the night tonight. So this really is a nighttime storm. We had the heaviest effects last night, and then we're going to get some moderate effects tonight throughout the majority of the Bay Area and the Valley. So that's what's going on there. Let's take a look at the totals still expected. So keep in mind, this is the total for the storm. I clicked the model so that it would include when the storm first started moving in, because I want to see the totals that we can be expecting throughout the Bay Area and Valley. Let's go all the way to when the storm is just gone. You can see Northern California to parts of the North Bay picking up 2 to 3 inches of rain. San Francisco maybe 1.5 inches. Santa Cruz Mountains could be more in that 4 to 5 inch range, and I'd believe that because I'm in the Santa Cruz Mountains and it was absolutely dumping last night. You can see parts of the Valley, Sacramento getting 2 inches of rain. That seems to be the story for the majority of Northern California. 2 to 4 inches of rain with this system. And I'll remind you, we are in extreme drought, so for the most part, that is some great news when it comes to our water supply and the drought in general. This rain, very welcomed. But again, there are some threats that we do have to go over, and I'll show those threats in a second. So first I want to just show the total accumulated snowfall. Let's go as of right now. This is what we've picked up. You can see foot of snow has already fallen. In some places, maybe already at 2 feet of snow. And then as we move through the rest of this storm, that's where we could get to 5 feet of snow. Some locations were even saying 7 to 10 feet of snow. It's so funny seeing how the forecast models have adjusted throughout the lifetime of the storm. Last week, I was hesitant to say there would be 4 feet of snow because I didn't want to overhype the storm too much, and the models still were relatively unconfident. And then every forecast model that keeps coming out just keeps adding, it seems like, another inch of rain and another foot of snow to the forecasted totals. So now we could have some places in the Sierras that pick up all the way to 10 feet of snow. And again, that's select locations. Majority of the region, pretty safe to say, picking up 4 to 5 feet of snow. So that is the good news. We've got inches of rain falling throughout the coast and the valley, and we have feet of snow falling in the Sierras. That's great news when it comes to the drought. We're in extreme drought, so picking up rain and snow, definitely welcomed. And I will remind you that about half of California's annual rainfall just comes from a few of these atmospheric rain events. So these events are huge when it comes to our water supply and the drought in general. So overall, this storm has been great when it comes to the drought. Where it isn't so great is when it comes to the threats that are associated with the storm. And the main threats for the coast and the valley are obviously flash flooding. We have the debris flow and the mudslide threats where you mix these extreme winds or these extreme rainfall totals with our burn scars. And then there's also the wind gust threat. And when it comes to the wind gusts, I would say this is the biggest threat where we have had those fires in the past. So the areas that have the fires, it's almost like a triple threat. You have, first off, the fire in the first place, and looking at the LNU lightning complex, the CZU lightning complex, and the SCU lightning complex, as well as the glass fire. You have the initial threat of having the fire itself. Then, when you get that heavy rain, you have the you have the mudslide and the debris flow threat, and then you also have weakened trees that got burnt up, and that's where the wind threat comes in. So you can see the winds last night, they were gusting 60 miles per hour in San Francisco, 50 to 60 mile per hour gusts here in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I can attest to that. So even though you might say, oh, we're good, that the big part of the storm has moved off, but you can see throughout this evening, there is going to be that second wind for the storm. No pun intended there. San Francisco, as we get into tonight, as that storm starts to strengthen again, not as strong as the initial impact of the storm. You can tell it's not as impactful, but San Francisco, 30 mile per hour wind gusts, South Bay, 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts. So as this storm strengthens tonight, we're going to feel the effects again. Again, not as bad as last night, but tonight we will start to feel some extreme winds again. And the key spot to look at here might actually just be in the Sierras, because that's where we're still picking up feet of snow, maybe 5 feet to 6 feet of snow still to fall in the Sierras. And that's going to be mixed with 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. So that is why we have the blizzard warning in the Sierras. So I have some great graphics that just show exactly what I've been talking about and basically summarize what's going on. You can see the winter storm warning is widespread. The blizzard warning is right where I just showed those extreme winds are, right there. That's where we pick up feet of snow, and then you get these wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour blowing all that snow around. That's what reduces visibility and adds to the blizzard warning. So travel, highly discouraged. And yeah, I wouldn't even try to drive. You're going to have 5 to 8 feet of snow and 70 mile per hour winds. That's about as bad as it gets. Still, or let's see when that blizzard warning lasts. It's until Friday morning. So keep that in mind. Like I said, the system is hanging out over California for a long period of time. So we're going to continue to feel the effects for the next couple of days. Still to fall, you can see 60 to 80 inches of snow still to fall. Extreme impacts. I wouldn't even try to travel. I mean, if you live in the mountains, you know better than I what to do in winter weather. But again, this is a major storm that we're dealing with here. Mixing 7 feet of snow with 70 mile per hour winds. When it comes to the precipitation, this shows what's still to fall. You can see majority of our rain fell last night into early this morning, but we could pick up another inch to 2 inches throughout the Bay Area and the Valley. And that's moderate impacts. The real extreme impacts, I would say, are on the central coast when it comes to rainfall. With that wind forecast, you can see shows 40 mile per hour winds, but we were looking at the extreme wind map, and there are some locations that could have 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts. I also love this timeline graphic here. Look at this legend. It shows extreme impact, high impact, low impact. And you can see that major impacts will be today. Extreme impacts as we drop more feet of snow mixed with those 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. Thursday, we still have high impacts, but it starts to ease up a little bit. And then Friday, that's when the system has finally moved off into Utah and Arizona, and we should be in the clear until a new little system moves in on Sunday. But that's a ways off in the forecast, so I'm not going to focus on that one yet. We'll take a look at that as we get later in the week. But again, travel will be difficult to near impossible. That's the key thing to remember for today and tomorrow as well, especially in the Sierras. So here's the great graphic that shows the flash flood watch. You could also say mudslide warning or debris flow warning. It's especially true where you're mixing the extreme rain accumulations with these burn scars. So again, there's the CZU, the SCU, we've got the Carmel burn scars and the Dolan burn scar. I would say out of all of these, I'm the most worried about the Dolan down here because that's where we have those maybe 6 to 8 inches of rain falling right over this area. And I'll try to explain how this works just real quick. So typically on a hillside, you have a bunch of vegetation and the roots grow down into that soil and just hold it in place. It's like a structure. Then when you have these major fires that come through and burn all the vegetation, it destroys that structure. There's no longer anything holding that soil in place. Now that might be fine for a little while, but then when you mix in inches of rainfall, all that mud that's no longer held in place by the roots of vegetation, all that dirt and soil and just basically the hillside will become completely saturated with water and almost turn into a liquid. That's where you start getting these debris flows and flash flooding in and near recent burn areas. And then I'll also remind you, the trees themselves have been weakened by the fires, so when you mix in those 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts, falling trees are something to think about as well. I'm actually interested to walk around my own area now that the rain is eased up here to see if anything did fall down last night, because we were getting some 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts up here in the Santa Cruz Mountains mixed with that extreme rain. So now I want to look at Southern California. Again, this storm is moving from northwest down through California, so feeling the effects later, but also feeling the effects longer. And the biggest story, again, right over the central coast here. Keep your eye on this area because that's where the major impacts will be felt. I'll remind you, let's just show this one more time just because I love this graphic so much and it perfectly explains what's going on. These winds funneling in moisture. That's our atmospheric river just funneling in moisture right over the central coast all day today, all day Thursday, and then finally moving farther into Southern California as we work into Friday. So you'll be able to see the effects of that perfectly on this precipitation map. You can see early this morning, that's when the central coast really started to pick up some heavy rainfall, 0.5 to an inch of rain per hour. And then watch as it just stays over this region, right over the central coast, working into this afternoon, into this evening, still picking up heavy rain. As we work into tonight, still picking up heavy rain. Early tomorrow morning, still feeling the effects of that atmospheric river. So this would be major rain accumulations if it was just for, I don't know, maybe 5 hours, but you can see it's for more than 24 hours. So just think about how this works. If you're picking up 0.5 inches of rain per hour and this heavy rain is over you for 24 hours, it makes sense that you have areas picking up 10 inches of rain with this atmospheric river event. So when does the Central Coast finally start to get a break? It looks like it starts to ease up 10 a.m. Thursday morning. Then as we work into Thursday afternoon, that's where it's going to start to push farther into Southern California. Major effects felt in Los Angeles up through these mountains here where we're picking up some heavy snowfall. That's going to be at about 10 p.m. tomorrow night. So tomorrow evening into tomorrow night, that's when this system finally starts to push into Southern California, and we get effects all the way down into San Diego early Friday morning. So if I had to summarize what we were just talking about, the system is basically stalling out over the Central Coast all day today, all day Thursday. Then as we push into Thursday night, that system finally gives the Central Coast a break, works into Los Angeles and San Diego throughout early Friday morning, starting late Thursday night. And then we're going to still get some rain in Southern California throughout the day Friday, finally gone 10 p.m. Friday. So that's when this system has finally moved off and we actually start to get a break. So let's look at the accumulations in Southern California. Again, keep your eye on the Central Coast there, picking up You can see Atascadero is showing 6 inches, but these areas where you have this brown coloring, that's maybe 10 to 12 inches of rain. So that little math we did earlier where you're picking up 0.5 inches of rain for 24 hours, there could be some locations getting 10 to 12 inches of rain in the Central Coast. I'm still caught between what's our biggest impacts, the 10 to 12 inches of rain on the Central Coast or the possibly 10 feet of snow in the Sierras, because both of those are just massive stories. You can see Los Angeles as well picking up 1.5 inches of rain, San Diego getting 1.5 inches of rain as well. Again, when it comes to the drought, this is fantastic news. But again, where we have those burn scars, you do have to watch out for those extreme mudslides and debris flows because the vegetation is no longer holding those hillsides in place. Just looking at the accumulated snowfall forecast, let's go to this morning. This is what you've likely already picked up. You can see some spots over 1 foot of snow, and then it's really going to start to pile in as that atmospheric river just sits over the area. Some spots in Southern California getting, what would that be? So that's that kind of orangish color there. That's looking like maybe 2 to 3 feet of snow, maybe even more than that if we're lucky. That's pretty awesome news. For sure, more than 1 foot of snow. The question is, how much more than 1 foot of snow throughout the Southern California mountains? But you can see Sierras, maybe even up to 8 to 10 feet in some places. So that's why I'm caught between this being our major story, 7 to 10 inches of rain, and this being our major story, 7 to 10 feet of snow. But again, I just want to mention some of the threats going on, especially in Southern California. Still feeling those extreme winds, and they're actually starting to pick up right now. You can see the Central Coast getting into that 50 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts. Now the big impact here, that's where those extreme wind gusts can impact where you had the fires in the past. Your trees are weakened by the Dolan, Carmel fire, even the CZU lightning complex up here as we still see some winds there. That's where those extreme winds can play a role. As you can see, they're going to be hanging out. When do they first move into the Central Coast? That's 50 mile per hour, maybe even 70 mile per hour wind gusts starting early this morning. And then they're sticking around until Thursday afternoon. So extreme impacts throughout the Central Coast for the next 24 hours. And then those extreme winds start to push through Southern California as we get into Thursday night and early Friday morning. Let's see what Los Angeles picks up. Looks like the most they're going to get is maybe 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts, especially in some of the drainages and canyons. So just a summary of everything we've been talking about. The Northeast was picking up some light snow this morning with the trailing effects of Winter Storm Nathaniel. Trailing that system, we have this little system that moved through California Sunday, Monday, dropped some weak rain and snow, and is actually going to strengthen as it pulls in some moisture, drop some snow over Missouri, southern parts of Illinois and Indiana, and then the mid-Atlantic will feel the major effects of this system as Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia, parts of Tennessee, and especially North Carolina pick up 1 to 4 inches of snow with that one. The big summary for that system is it's a quick mover. It comes in early Wednesday, or early this morning. We started to feel some effects in Illinois, and then it's already gone by Thursday afternoon, even already gone by Thursday morning. Maybe the very eastern parts of North Carolina still picking up snow tomorrow morning. Then the big story is what's going on in California. This major system that moved in last night, I can tell you, we had extreme rainfall, extreme winds, and that's not going anywhere. It's actually going to stall out, especially over the Central Coast and the Sierras here. Throughout all day today and all day tomorrow, we continue to pick up heavy rain and snow, getting maybe 7 to 10 inches of rain in some places and 7 to 10 feet of snow in the Sierras. Now, two sides of this story that we have to go over. There's the good news and the bad news. The good news is with 2 to 4 inches of rain in northern California, 7 to 10 inches of rain in central California, and then 7 to 10 feet of snow. That's terrific for the drought. That's just great news right there. We needed this precipitation, and part of the good news is it didn't all fall at once. If all of this fell over a 24-hour period, we'd be in some serious trouble. So we're actually kind of lucky that we're getting these great accumulations of precipitation, but over a longer period of time. We're still going to have major impacts, but it's at least better than if we picked up 10 inches of rain and 10 feet of snow over the course of 24 hours. Instead, we're picking it up from Tuesday evening to Friday evening. So the impacts are a little more moderate than they could have been if it was all at once. Now, I'm hesitant to say moderate impacts because we do have areas seeing extreme impacts with this storm. I would say the key spots are those burn scar areas. We got LNU lightning complex, CZU lightning complex, SCU lightning complex, Carmel fire, Dolan fire. Those areas are some of my key spots I'm worried about as you mix that heavy rainfall with soil that is no longer held in place by vegetation that got burnt out. That's where you get mudslides, debris flows. Then in the Sierras, we're mixing 7 feet of snow with 70 mile per hour winds. That's why we have a blizzard warning there. So again, that's the major impacts going on. Overall, it's been quite a storm so far, and it's going to continue throughout the rest of the week. Finally moving off Friday evening, and I'm going to continue to do these updates as this system, you can see, still hanging around through Thursday and Friday. So I will keep you guys updated on the developments of this storm, as well as the other major weather stories going on across the country every single day. We'll be taking a look at those, and I hope you have a great day. I hope the impacts you feel from this storm aren't too extreme, and thanks for watching.